no shortage of hotspots overseas. What lies ahead? Let's bring in our political panel. Joining us, Christopher Hahn, former aide to Senator strategist, and Brad Blakeman is here, former deputy assistant. Good to see you. Got going on. Got so many people out. Is this the right for him to be telling people he wants their fears on the job?
You know what? I think it's time the president is telling the American people why he did what he's been doing and working for them. All we've been hearing the last 2 years is why all of his policies are bad, yet all the signs of the direction. $1 billion goods on the road, and he needs to tell the American people, and he needs to stop this narrative that the Republicans have been putting out there so effectively that his policies are killing jobs in this country. Absolutely not. He inherited the worst economy since the Great Depression, and he's slowly, surely turned. I welcome this candidate. I hope he gets out there and he fights hard for what he's been doing.
Brad, like I said in the intro, nobody's surprised that he's going to run for re-election. So this is Monday or Tuesday next week.
Who are Washington friends feel that the never is governing. He passes the buck leadership to the Senate and our allies overseas with the foreign affairs. We're at war. It's under the Obama administration. Unemployment has a full record, and the reason why we're effective is because the American finally the host was up and changed the game to attack this president out of strength. This president is announcing out of weakness, both on the economy and foreign policy, and maybe the president thinks this is the best it's going to get.
You know, Brad, your assertion that the campaign never ends just doesn't mesh with the facts. This president has not defended his policies. He is not credit dramatically.
That's why you can't take credit for it.
We were pushing 10% unemployment a year ago.
We're still
under
9.
Policies that he left us. We're at 8.8 now. The stock market is at a almost all-time high under this president's policies.
But Main Street is hurting. It's the little guy who's hurting that Obama has turned a deaf ear to. The very people who supported this guy the most are the ones that are hurting the most.
Let me jump in here because Christopher just used a word that sort of made my ears perk up: cash. Is this all about cash? By announcing his candidacy, his re-election efforts, he's allowed to start raising money for that. And I just wonder, Brad, if that's what this is all about.
Sure, it's all about money. Remember, this was the guy who said he would take public financing in his first run for office, and then understood the kind of money that he could raise through the and a pervasive email list. So what did he do? He went back on that pledge, and now he certainly understands that he could raise close to $1 billion in this next election cycle, and that's his eye is all about money,
Brad,
not about our money, about raising money for himself.
And Brad, unlike your buddies in the Republican Party, this president raises his money in $50 and $100 chunks from regular people. We're not getting the Koch brothers.
Really? George Soros and his crowd are just regular people. They're multi-billionaires. You know that.
Well, the Obama campaign.
Don't know the American people.
I read today, excuse me, guys, that the Obama campaign got its big money donors together, asked all of them to raise at least $350,000 before the end of this year. So they are looking for cash. I want to spend the last couple minutes that we have talking about, I want to ask you both this question. Who do you think, and Christopher, we'll start with you, that President Obama would most like to face from the Republican side, and who would he least like to face?
Well, you know, I have to say a Sarah Palin or a Michelle Bachmann makes my mouth water because they are so divisive and they are so uninformed on the issues affecting this country that either one of them would be a phenomenal challenge and would basically assure not only the president's reelection, but that the United States Congress goes back to the Democratic Party. Their stance on the issues are not in line with the American people, and they would be horrible for the GOP. In fact, they'd be the end of the GOP, and I think the GOP knows this, which is why they've been trying to push them off to the side. Now, as far as who he would least like to say, I just left my fantasy baseball draft, and I got to say all the Republican contenders kind of look like minor leaguers to me. But if I had to pick one, I would have to say Chris Christie from New Jersey, because he just has this kind of effect on the common person and the mainstream of America that he could be a serious challenge. That said, I don't think he's ready for prime time, and I think the president would handle him very handily.
And he has said that he's not going to run, although, of course, that remains to be seen. He could certainly change his mind. Okay, Brad, your turn.
To quote Shakespeare, "Methink thou dost protest too much."
Well, Brad, what do you think? Who do you think the president, first of all, who would he most like to face? Who do you think he would sort of be licking his chops to go up against?
I think Sarah Palin. I think because she's a very divisive person and somebody I don't think who could garner the type of support that we're looking for from independents, which really are the bellwether voters that we need to attract in the Republican Party. So yeah, I think he would probably much prefer to run against Sarah Palin. Now, who he would be fearful of, I think, is a person like Governor Mitch Daniels of Indiana. Here's a guy who has a stellar record as governor in a state that Obama won last time. Don't forget, Mitch Daniels is an expert on the economy. He's also an expert on health care. He was a senior executive with Eli Lilly. So I think Mitch Daniels, a plain-talking Midwest governor, would be the worst scenario for this president.
All right, we have time for one more quick question. Christopher, you think if the president does go into re-election mode, campaign mode, what do you think that means for the tone in Washington as we look for our leaders, leaders in Congress and the president, to work out deals to solve the problems that we have in front of us?
I think he has to take a more active role, and I think if the campaign starts, there is a lot of impetus on him to take that active role, to be out there and to respond to the attacks. We've been getting this, no drama Obama for the last 2 years, where he doesn't take on every attack, whereas the Clintons had their rapid response team. Obama kind of just lets things play out, and I think when he gets into the campaign mode, you will see that kind of rapid response, and I think that's what the Democrats need. They need better messaging and better rapid responses, and the president needs to lead that.
And Brad, an official declaration of a re-election campaign, what does that do for the tone? What does that do for the possibility of brokering deals in D.C.?
It's open season on President Obama politically, and everything he does now is going to be filtered through the eyes of pure politics and being reelected. I think it's a horrible decision for the White House to make. I welcome it as a Republican because now the president has put himself out as candidate Obama and not President Obama, the governing president that he should do, with especially when no Republicans have formally announced.
Brad Blakeman, Christopher
Brad,
Hahn.
is it ever not open season on him? I mean, is it ever not open season on the president in Washington?
And it doesn't matter who's in the White House. It's always open season.
Not really. Not with his disastrous policies.
Gentlemen, this has been fun.
Well,
Thanks
Brad,
so much. And let the games begin, as they say.
Absolutely.
And we'll see you both again real soon.
Let them begin.
Sure. Oh, boy. All right. A lively debate there.